Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a certain reputation for being extremely complex. With its 30-minute turn 1 combos and endless loops, it can feel daunting for those not already in the know to wrap their heads around it. Luckily, Konami foresaw this problem in 1999 by proposing a simplified version of their format called the Junior Rules. While never officially adopted in the TCG, the Junior Rules have been tackled and experimented with by some number of Yu-Gi tubers in the past years, and now it's my turn. With no tributes, 1 spell, 1 trap, and 3 special summons per turn, in this series we will ponder, what does Yu-Gi-Oh! Look like when the action economy has limits? How much can we accomplish with less? Can we truly simplify the game into a more accessible form, or are those complexities baked in? Can we build a stronger Yu-Gi-Oh! That is for the people? We will find out together as we undergo this, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Junior Trials! Hello, world and all who inhabit it. My name is Jessica J, aka Jessie J Plays. I am joined by my Junior Trials 2003 co-host, Leah. And today we have a tournament to present to you. In the Junior Format Discord, we went ahead and hosted the Super Junior Confrontation Tournament. A total of 12 people participated, and we ultimately narrowed that down to a 4-person top cut. And over the course of this video today, we will be looking at the deck lists that qualified for top cut and then examining the replays of that top cut.
I am so excited to be here and really excited to see these games that we're definitely seeing for the first time.
Yeah, that is 100% true. We are definitely watching these games for the first time, which is how I intend to do this part of the series, by the way. I always intend to record these just completely brand new, unspoiled, getting to experience them for the first time. And it is therefore such a good thing that we did not already do this recording earlier in the week, and I did not fuck up the audio.
I couldn't agree more, Jess. What a good point.
It's so good, and the fact that the extent to which that didn't happen may make you question why I am bringing it up in the first place.
Yeah, suspiciously specific. Well, good thing we don't have to worry about it.
Anyway, let's jump in. Leah, do you have any thoughts about the format before we take a look at the deck lists for today's games?
I do. I think we are perfect geniuses who designed the best format of all time. And I think the format is really, really rad. All of the games of it that I definitely didn't see before, I think were great.
Yeah, for sure. The first thing we are going to do, of course, is go over the deck lists. The 4 users who qualified for top cut were Aslion, Helio Strider, Sparky, and J Positive. We're going to look at the decks in pairs. I think that is the best way to go about things, because there are a lot of reoccurring themes in this format. There are a lot of cards that kind of see play in every single deck, and a lot of the differences are like in what the overall focus is. So the first 2 decks that we're looking at are what I would call the more bungest focused lists. Alright, the first deck list comes to us from Aslion, and this is really interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, we have a Deal with the Dark Ruler and Berserk Dragon in the side deck rather than the main deck, which is really interesting to me, because Berserk Dragon is powerful. It does have the potential to be bricky, though. So it seems like Aslion's kind of vibe that they are going for here is to have a most consistent build possible for game 1, and then possibly side into the more Berserk Dragon focused package games 2 and 3. This is a really tight build overall.
Yeah, I think it's bungus. I love Moisture Creature, baby.
Is that a drill? What is... Oh wait, is that like a hair thing?
It's a hair dryer. Yeah.
Oh, is this like an actual hairdresser thing? I never understood moisture creature a
You've
day in my
never
life.
gotten your hair done by Moisture Creature, Jess?
No, I
Come
truly
on.
have not. Yeah, I've never understood what's going on in this card art. But it's quite a good card in this format.
Anyway, I like the creature swap. Most notable thing in the main deck for me is Windstorm of Ataqua. Baby, we're playing this and not Mirror Force. But I trust Aslion. He's my king. He's my goat.
Yeah, yeah,
I, I,
yeah.
I trust. I trust.
Aslion has to know what they're doing because otherwise they wouldn't know what they're doing, and that would be sad. Possibly a huge mistake to not play Windstorm with its best counterpart, Amazon Swordswoman. But we'll see
Bro.
how things play out. All right, second list comes to us from Helio Strider. This is also a Bungus list, but of course this time we are looking at Deal with Dark Ruler and Berserk Dragon in the main deck. First thing I will note here is that it seems triple Deal with the Dark Ruler, double Berserk Dragon is like the optimal ratios that everybody in the Discord has agreed on. I'm really interested in how low the monster ratio is because I feel like in kind of season one of Junior Journey, I would want a higher monster ratio. I would have gone so far as to like play maybe 41, 42 cards just to get more monsters. And I do I would look at this list and wonder if we have enough level 8s to consistently proc a Deal with the Dark Ruler, but Helio Strider built this list and qualified for top cut, so what the fuck do I know?
Yeah. Well, spells are better in general because of the quick play spell rules, so that might explain it. He's also got the 3 Pot of Greed, which Aslion has opted for in the side, so it'll be interesting to see that comparison. And is that Guardian Sphinx?
That is
Are we
a
going to be
one
bouncing?
of I love this has like been a Helio Strider special the entirety of 2003, and I think it's so funny. Not more than one copy of it, but just exactly one Guardian Sphinx in the deck just to keep your opponent on their toes, which I really like in this format actually, because like every set card could be Despair from the Dark, but it could also not be. And Helio Strider is opting to have a higher variety of things that it could be currently set on the board other than Despair from the Dark. Really, really funny
Yeah.
stuff here.
I'm also curious how like the anti-tiny deck sideboards work out. We see Hades and Nobleman of Crossout in the side and Parshath. So there's lots of tech against the smaller decks. And I'm also curious how Offerings to the Doomed works out.
I mean, Offerings to the Doomed has seemed very powerful over the course of this format. A lot of the time, you just want to get big guys off the board as quickly as possible, and Offerings to the Doomed facilitates that quite a bit. Although, of course, the downside of not drawing a card can be a huge problem. The last thing I will note, of course, is that Helio Strider, despite not playing Metamorphosis or Magical Scientist or anything, has fully teched out his extra deck. I guess with the intention of like, if we draw Monster Reborn and our opponent's
Yeah.
Magical Scientist is the best option, we will be prepared for that
Just,
eventuality.
just think about it.
It's
Just
true.
think
I
about it.
mean, you
Just
got that.
go on.
These are the things you'll have to think about in order to be a junior trials champion. And Helios Strider has these things in his noggin.
So these are the big Bungus decks. And the real question of the format is how beatable is Bungus? Because the other two decks, there's something different, right, Jess?
There is something a little bit different happening in the other two decks. Our third list comes to us from J Positive. J Positive is the first of two deck lists that we have kind of described more as critter decks. There are still Bunguses present here, but there are a lot more little guys going on. We've got the Apprentice Magician package with Magical Scientist and Magician of Faith and Old Vindictive Magician. We've got Spirit Reaper. We've got Bizer Shock. And we even have a fucking Ultimate Obedient Fiend. Somebody
I'm
did.
so glad to see the Chussie back in action.
No,
I
no,
love
no,
these
no.
decks. I think that no, yes, yes, yes. I think that these tiny guy decks are like so cool, especially because Magical Scientist is such a fascinating card in this format. It's so broken in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! And so completely like good but normal levels of good in Junior.
Yeah.
We're also trying to Metamorphosis. We're trying to summon Berserk Dragon, even though it's like a critters list. So
Yeah.
this one's wild. This one's wild.
Yeah, if anything, I would maybe question if there's too much going on in this deck list. You do wonder if the deal with the Dark Ruler is going to have enough level 8 monsters to proc. You wonder if Metamorphosis is going to be online frequently enough. But you know, a lot of these cards are individually just really, really strong, and J Positive looked at the variety of choices at his disposal, and basically said, "I want all of it. I want all of it in the deck."
I believe in him. I'm sure he's J positive about this deck, so I'm J positive about it.
And the last list is worth keeping an eye on because it comes to us from Sparky, who, if you will remember, was the champion of SJC 2002, making a return appearance, hoping to make Lightning Strike twice. And Sparky is also on a more critters centric deck. We've got, of course, the baby spellcasters that we saw in J Positive's deck. We've got Sangan, we've got Maneater Bug, we've got Witch of the Black Forest. Um, I would say this list is a little bit tighter than J Positive's decks. You don't see the stuff like Metamorphosis and uh the and the Berserk Dragon package in this one. That may translate to less available options, but these are a large number of very powerful monsters for sure.
Yeah. And Jess, you forgot to mention Ultimate Obedient
It's true.
Fiend.
We did get Ultimate Obedient Fiend in two
um,
of the topping decks.
so yeah, this deck looks super clean. Lots of three ofs. The three Sangan seems tight. Three pot. Um, and this was Sparky, right?
Yes,
So Sparky's opted for three Mirror Force, which is interesting because that seems like exactly what you would want to play against Bungus, especially three Blast held by Tribute in the side.
yeah,
So excited to see how this turns out, especially with the creature swap stuff, which I think is a cool way to play with the Critters deck.
for sure. And you see we have like additional cards that kind of hedge their bets against Bungus. Buster Blader punishes decks that play a large number of dragons. Tribe Infecting Virus, of course, can clear an entire board by itself. Yeah, really tight stuff from Sparky. Well, Leah, I for one am excited to watch these games for the first time. And the first round is going to be Helio Strider versus Sparky, and let's see how this one plays out.
So this is Bungus versus Critters, Helio Strider on Bungus. So let's see what can come out on top.
It's true.
Um, this is this hand has some crazy traps from Helio Strider, but very few proactive plays
That's
besides the Queen of the Stars.
that's true. Helio Strider opting for Raigeki Break, which is an interesting first set. I guess the thinking is that like if your opponent MSTs, you can chain it. And we will go ahead and just immediately Raigeki Break that Blue Eyes to protect the Guardian Sphinx.
I was briefly bat chesting, and then I put away the bat chest. No blue eyes for us.
Well, we might see a little bit more Blue Eyes. We flip up the Guardian Sphinx. We bounce the set Despair from the Dark. And this is like,
Is
uh,
Spark going to use the ring? Yes.
this is really important. Is Sparky has a very thoughtful play around here. In this moment, Heliostrider has a Deal with the Dark Ruler in hand, so essentially, if Sparky had Ring of Destruction the Cosmo Queen, he would have lost on the spot.
Yeah, he's taken all of the damage anyway, so this works out well as a way to play around deal. Heads up play.
Yeah, for sure. And also Guardian Sphinx can get very annoying. You have to be thinking, like, if my opponent sets, like, Mirror Force and I can't deal with the Guardian Sphinx next turn, I'm toast. So, solid play around from Sparky at this juncture. Helio Strider getting in with a sizable Solemn Judgment
Chunky
payout.
solemn. Yeah. And let's take a look at Sparky's hand. So we got Despair, we've got Premat, Dark Sangan. So a pretty flexible hand. There's a lot that can happen here. And that Despair from the Dark is going to put in work with the booty.
Despair from the Dark has such a big ass. It protects the entirety of that graveyard with its cheeks.
It's
Um,
you know, I may in a past life have described it as being like Kim's Kardashian's ass, but as I understand, just doesn't know who that is.
I never thought I would say that Tombstone is caked up, but Despair from the Dark has like accomplished that for me. We pre-mat the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which gets over the Cosmo Queen. Um and right off the bat, the life point count is very close to tied.
But Sparky looking really in control here.
It's true. And Main Eater Bug set has to feel good as well. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. This was like a
Okay.
really heads up play from Helio Strider, letting the
Nice.
Despair from the Dark die in order to resolve a deal with a Dark
Proactive
Ruler.
way to kill your guy. And now this Berserk Dragon can attack everybody, so this is cleaning it up. The question is, will Helio Strider sequence it right so that he doesn't die to the Man-Eater Bug? And yes, he does.
He does indeed leave the set card for last. You have to imagine that Man-Eater Bug's like one of the primary things that can be. And this is a pretty good situation for Helio Strider. You like to have... Oh, no! I forgot about this, actually. I was about to say that you like to have both a quick play spell and a trap set because that gives you two possible interactions, but it didn't fucking matter. Um,
Jess, point out. Is Helio Strider on Ultimate Obedient Fiend? Oh, that's a bad draw.
this is a devastatingly bad draw, but Sparky just doesn't draw a big enough guy to close it out. Still looking good tempo-wise. Oh, but that's like the best draw it could be.
The attackers.
Um, this is incredible because Tyrant Dragon can attack twice, clearing the entire board.
And again, we have sequencing here. So the dragon trades for the magician. It's kind of unfortunate because the Sangan picking up the witch means that Sparky is going to present lethal.
Except that final face down card is a deal with the Dark Ruler. So because that Tyrant Dragon got over to... actually, it's fine that we fucked up recording and had to do this again because we don't remember a single thing that happened.
Yeah.
Incredibly well played on both sides of the board. And also, I will say, Tyrant Dragon was just the best draw that Helio Strider could have possibly seen in that situation. Very, very active game one.
I mean, double Berserk Dragon. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So there's lots of sideboard tools the players could bring in here. Let's see what happens.
All right, we go into game 2. Helio Strider has one up on Sparky. And we are looking at... Sparky has a pretty good opening hand, I would say. You probably want to see a spell card, if anything. That's
This
still
hand from
probably
Helio
fine.
Strider seems pretty strong. We've got the Dark Ruler, so we already have some of the sideboard tech.
That's true. Dark Ruler Hadess will match up pretty well against this Man-Eater Bug, and that MST will prevent the Mirror Force from countering it. Now we move into Helio Strider's turn. Down comes the Dark Ruler, and down goes Man-Eater Bug, which means that Helio Strider gets to keep his own Man-Eater Bug for future.
It's kind of cool that both Hades and the card Make a Deal with Hades are in this format and in the same deck.
This is like the most active Hades has ever been in a Yu-Gi-Oh format, I think. It's
such a neat card for this format.
He doesn't typically see this much work. He has been kind of unemployed for a couple years, so everybody round of applause for Dark Ruler Hades Man-eater bug is gonna kill despair from the
That's a
dark.
big man-eater bug.
Yeah, and then we have Dark Ruler, Hot Death, Man-eater bug, and Cosmo Queen presenting a significant amount of damage to Sparky.
Will we Ring of Destruction the man-eater bug?
Oh
Oh,
no, wait.
Cosmo Queen is rough.
I think this might be the end of the game, right? Oh,
Is it?
did we use a spell card this turn? We did. We used the offerings, didn't we?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, okay. If we
Hmm.
if we had our spell activation, that would have been
Oh, there's
it.
heavy. That's a
Um,
good heavy.
that is a good
Sparky.
heavy. Sparky is low on cards at this point,
Yeah.
though.
Sparky is just struggling to find anything big enough, or even just anything to contest the board here. And the Hades is potential lethal.
Yeah, this is one of the situations where like Helio Strider played around Mirror Force because you kind of have to after a certain point. But you know, if he'd just gone balls to the wall, he could have won it here.
And it's fine for him to slow play here because, I mean, he's pretty firmly in the driver's seat.
That's true.
Now, that Solemn Judgment could do some work.
And down goes Dark Ruler Hades after making mincemeat of Sparky's Man-Eater bug earlier. Will not get a chance to. Does Dark Ruler Hades? Yeah, it would have stopped Witch as
Solemn
well.
Judgment, the man-eater bug,
As we
baby.
we did in fact judgment the Man-Eater bug. Sometimes you do what you have to do.
Sometimes you got a Solemn Judgment fucking man-eater bug.
Cosmo Queen takes down Despair from the
Can I
Dark.
say, Man-Eater Bug, so unreal how good Man-Eater Bug is in junior format.
It really just has continued to see play.
The fact that it's a monster that's removal is huge in a format where removal isn't as accessible.
That's
Okay,
and
which could do
are we getting Man-Eater bug here is the question.
true.
Oh, I mean, we can't get Magical Scientist. Oh yeah. Spirit
Reaper
Reaper
is
is also
smart.
an option.
Reaper is smart here, although Sparky's going to be wishing he called the Exterminator because there's the third Man-Eater Bug.
Helios Strider winning purely off the strength of triple Man-Eater bug.
He's fucking Rex Weevil.
And yeah, unfortunately, I think the game is
That storm locks it.
well, the trap hole wouldn't be able to stop anything either way. Yeah, that Man-Eater bug pops the Spirit Reaper. Cosmo Queen can get in. Helios Strider with the 2-0 in the first round of the semifinals, knocking Sparky out. Congratulations, GG's all around.
He is Helio striding into the finals.
All right, second game of the semifinals: Aslion versus J Positive. Once again, it's going to be Aslion on primarily Bungus stuff versus J Positive on a more critter focused list.
And speaking of Bungus, we've got three gigantic ones in Aslion's hands, but this is
Aslion,
a lot of
Aslion's hand is huge right now. Aslion's hand is like swole.
And yeah, I'm curious to see here how the I may or may not know what happens here, but I think it's interesting to see how the Bungus deck plays against the Critters deck. There's a lot of dynamics here. That's going to be a big mirror force.
It could be, except Aslion has an actual non-Bungus card that matches up pretty well against J Positive's board in this instance. It looks like we're not going to go for it yet. Tyrant Dragon comes down.
Now, Tyrant Dragon can be mirror forced, right?
It can, yeah. Tyrant Dragon's thing is that it can't be targeted by traps. So Trap Hole
Yeah.
doesn't work on it, Raigeki Break doesn't work on it, Mirror Force and Bottomless Trap Hole does.
J Positive, though, here says, yes, I want the Apprentice Magician target search.
Yeah,
But getting Scientist is interesting because Tyrant Dragon could just run over it. So
yeah, unfortunately, I think J Positive just didn't realize that Tyrant Dragon did that, which, you know, that happens. We move into a new turn. We've got Old Vindictive Magician, which is just like somehow uglier Man-Eater bug.
Oh, okay. Face up defense position scientist. I love seeing scientists.
It's so funny to normal summon Scientist in face up defense mode. Thousand Eyes Restrict will slurp up
That's
the Tyrant
pretty
Dragon.
strong.
And we are like, fuck it, let's see what that face down is, and we'll take a whole 100 damage out of it. And that's fine.
Now, you would think because Thousand Eyes Restrict is the sequel to Relinquished that it would burn the opponent, but apparently it doesn't.
Yeah,
Um,
I honestly think they might have just ran out of text space back in
and they were like,
2004.
ah, screw it.
They
It
were
doesn't matter.
like, we cannot do this a second time. God, when I like purchase a structured deck as like baby 10-year-old Jess and I read Relinquish for the first time, my eyes like watered. There was like the
True.
tiniest text on a Yu-Gi-Oh card I'd ever seen at that point in my life.
I gotta ask you, Thousand Eyes Restrict, would you?
I am gonna say generally no. I would
Or-
typically not.
Okay,
Will Bizer
so
Shock the back row, Monster Reborn, the Despair from the Dark, getting into J Positive's life points with a big hit here.
J Positive had a pretty strong turn with that scientist, but his life points are getting low.
Yeah. So you wonder what the move is here. Probably just like set moisture creature. We've got a pre-met, but our life points are very low, and like our only real target is magical
Being a scientist
scientist.
isn't going to do too much for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would generally play it defensively, but I also know both players' hands, so you know.
I love the commentator hindsight of like, yeah,
Well, why the
maybe
fuck?
this.
Why
They
the
have
fuck are you playing that card? Just look at your opponent's hand and figure it
hand.
out. We are gonna go a little bit aggressive here. Moisture creature over Bizer Shock, getting 2k in.
Yeah, that's an aggressive 2K, and it's checked by not that many things, but this Cosmo Queen in the hand does do it. The question is, does the heavy come down? And it does.
So not dead yet, but very close.
Extremely close. What are we on? 100 life? 200 life?
200 life. Pre-mat is
Okay.
dead.
This isn't looking good for J positive. He
We've
might be
got
going
the
J negative.
J positive about to go J0. Is that anything?
No, I think I might have to shoot you for that one.
Okay, that's fine. Oh no, I forgot about this. We
Moisture
normal
creature
summon
face
moisture creature
up
in face up defense mode to play around I guess
nobleman.
Bizer Shock. But
However,
in the process we play into Fisher.
we die to the fissure.
Oh, and
Oh,
that is it for
fuck.
J positive. You know, that is sometimes the junior format way. You gotta decide whether your monster's in face up or face down, because like what your opponent has in terms of removal matters a significant amount in that regard. And in that instance, J positive came out on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, and again, we see the critter deck has trouble keeping up with Bungus because there's just so much aggression. The guys are so big, and you have to have the right answer at all times. And with stuff like Bizu Shock, MST, Heavy Storm, it's hard to always keep a grasp on the game.
It's true. So we move into game two. I imagine J positive will be going second because going second is generally better in this format.
Why is that?
The extra card, and you get to attack first.
Yeah, I suppose so. Now, Aslion sets Cosmo Queen, which is pretty interesting. Maybe feigning like a Despair from the Dark, or maybe even a Maneater Bug.
This is a common Aslion move, and I do like it a fair bit because there's a lot of stuff that set card could be that you wouldn't necessarily want to attack into, and it is better to force your opponent to flip summon their Maneater Bug than it is to attack into it, because then they have a tiny guy in attack mode. Um,
J positive opts for the slow roll here.
it's true. It also looks like we don't have any trap cards or quick play spells to set.
Mm,
Cosmo
that's rough, but
Queen.
the Dark Hole could be good.
That's true. Cosmo Queen comes down, and Aslion's probably thinking about whether or not to Bizer Shock here, which would be a decent. Yeah. We'll go ahead and Bizer
Okay.
Shock, bounce the Despair from the Dark. Hit him for a decent amount, though not the most of all time.
Visor Shock is a really strong card because of the fact that it returns both monsters and spells and traps, which is crazy. Like there's so much good stuff to get rid of here. Now, J positive has the deal with Dark Ruler, which is big because there are some bunguses in the hand, but that Solemn Judgment,
That's
mm,
true. The solemn
cause some issues.
if Aslion thinks ahead enough to solemn judgment the monster right as it comes down, it's never on the board to begin with. So I don't believe dark deal with the dark ruler would resolve in that
It's
situation.
it's rough because you got to choose between Dark Hole or potentially deal with the Dark Ruler.
Yeah. So J positive has a couple of options here and is a little bit on the back foot.
I was about to say J positive in the tank, but
Oh, and we're gonna go for
recording.
magical scientist.
Scientist. That is an interesting play with the Dark Ruler. Maybe we're hoping to clear the board here.
But
Oh,
we are gonna go for the
solemn
solemn
judgment,
judgment on the
baby.
magical
That
scientist.
is the maximum judgment. Asline feeling very confident. Surely this is the Dark Hole. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it has to be. It simply
Okay.
must.
But J positive wide open with no traps, no chainables here.
Yeah. So Aslion, what as we've seen previously, can get lethal here if they just assume that that isn't mirror force. But you get so punished if it is. So I imagine we're going to probably only try to hit him with one guy here.
Question is Spirit Reaper for damage for advantage or Cosmo Queen for damage, and Cosmo Queen for damage happens.
Yeah,
Um,
which I think makes sense. You get J
I think that's
positive,
probably correct.
you
Yeah,
get J positive low enough that like pre-mat or magical scientist becomes a problem. All
and
right.
that's part of the problem with relying on scientists is life points are so at a premium in junior format.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that really keeps it from being broken in the way that it once was. It also helps that fucking catapult turtle is eroded. But you know,
True.
Jesus Christ.
Now that despair from the dark in the hand is looking like perhaps the only line of defense here.
Yeah, I mean, you could also set moisture creature and just hope your opponent doesn't find blue eyes.
Face up defense again, interesting. So this is kind of smart in game two because presumably Asline has brought in Nobleman of Crossout.
Yeah, and like J positive has gotten like pretty
Visor
demolished by
shocked already.
Bizer shock at
Yeah.
this point. So I think that is probably what's tip top of his mind. As Lion puts down the Spirit Reaper, J positive is now double moist. We've got two moisture creature, a Bizer shock, and magical
That's
scientist.
that 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 should never be said. That I have
I
problems.
think that there are situations where you can say the phrase double moist and it's fine.
So
I would
J
argue.
positive gotta be feeling good, not about being doubly moist because that's horrible, but because now with the Despair from the Dark and deal with Dark Ruler, he's got a lot of insurance, and it looks like the game might be slowing down a little bit, which is definitely where J Positive wants to be on lower life and with the more controlly deck.
Yeah, so we'll play conservatively at this point, throw down another moisture creature, and Aslan continues to not really have a answer for it, and in actuality, summoning stuff in face-up defense mode is heads up from J Positive, because
That's that
Aslan
play.
has a Monster Reborn, which means they could get into Bizer Shock if they wanted
And listen, I gotta say, Jess, where's the removal? Where's the
to.
play? This is just big
turns
bunguses.
out turns out Aslan needs Maneater Bug.
Aslion
Helio
holding
Strider is
like
onto something.
6 gigantic doofuses.
Yeah, six gigantic doofuses can't quite overtake a doofus with a slightly bigger ass. But at the same time, J Positive doesn't really have a way to push for aggression here, so
Maybe there's some potential play with the scientist just to start clearing off stuff.
it's true. We could go
But that part's
scientist. We could
really low.
sacrifice one of our monsters to the god of Dark Ruler.
Mm. Oh, I like that play.
I do think it's. Oh, and it looks like we
Oh,
might be going in that direction.
oh,
Oh!
J Positive's Bizer shock. And
Wait,
does
wait, wait,
that
wait.
end the game?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. This was the really cool play that J Positive
That's
did.
it. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember. I don't remember shit.
You
Deal with Dark
clearly
Roller.
don't remember a single thing,
I
but
can
this was
still
like
PogChamp at this
a
because I didn't
really, a
practice.
really like a really clever move here that J Positive would not have gotten lethal without sacrificing to spare from the dark to bring out Berserk Dragon. And with Visor Shock and Moisture Creature, that is enough to bring Aslion to 0 and force that game 3. Well played,
Amazingly
J
explosive
Positive.
play. Very powerful way to end the game. Sending a message. Hey, if
It's all
we
about
ever
sending a
slow down,
message.
if we ever slow down the game, I will find a way to kill you into hell.
Yeah. And seeing in that instance, J Positive kind of making the statement, see, I can Visor Shock too, motherfucker.
I can even Berserk Dragon
I
too.
can buy.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of a hybrid fungus critter deck, you know?
in that instance, J Positive's deck choice, having that combination of littler guys and also Berserk Dragon coming off, looking pretty swell.
All right, let's see the all important game 3. Okay,
And
Scapegoat.
folks, it's
There's
time.
my boy. There's
Ultimate
my
obedient,
son.
ultimate obedient fiend has hit the hand. Let's see if it hits the field. Yes, we are gonna set that ultimate obedient fiend.
Let's go. Here's how J Positive can clear out his hand. Okay, deal with Dark Ruler and Moisture Creature. Maybe it resolves one day. I don't know,
Yeah.
Jess. What?
Unfortunately, not a single card in Aslion's hand can defeat Obedient Fiend.
Obedient Fiend is so goddamn funny.
It is just like it's a card that does nothing but fucking sit there.
You know,
Aslion will start with not his biggest monster.
only a little bit moist.
Yeah. Um, I think
And there he
Ultimate
is.
Obedient Fiend could use a little bit of moisturizer, honestly. Do you think
Mm,
that's actually Moisture Creature's thing? Is that like they're that
I
one friend who always has like a little thing of moisturizer?
I think so. I think Ultimate Obedient Fiend is the one who always shows up 2 hours late when you have to hang out and is trying to get you involved in like a cryptocurrency scheme.
I'm not sure Ultimate Obedient Fiend can even speak words. I'm not sure I agree with your assessment of his character. I think
Okay, so
ultimate if you invited Ultimate Obedient Fiend somewhere, he might just be like, anyway, J Positive is gonna set a scapegoat.
surely Ultimate Obedient Fiend would do what you say. He's ultimately obedient. Okay, so the scapegoat destroyed. Heavy Storm on Aslion's part means that if we can ever find an answer to this giant red asshole, then we can make a big lethal push. But how do you defeat him? How do you defeat him, Jess? How do you beat him?
I mean, like if Cloudy and Eye of the Typhoon can't, I'm not sure there's a
True.
way. Oh God. Speaking of insane
Okay.
weird assholes,
And surely
um,
where J Positive wants to be. The game is slow. There's time to get value out of the tinier guys.
yeah, there's time
I'm
to
a
set
scientist.
up a fucking Berserk Dragon OTK again. Now, we
Oof.
have Dark Hole, which is a way to defeat Ultimate Obedient Fiend. It just involves Aslion also blowing up their entire board.
What would that be? Like a 4-for-1?
Oh, we have Witch, so it's not as bad as it could be.
No. Hmm. As I am not finding a bunch of great stuff to set. Oh, but
Yeah,
smartly
we'll
not.
go Heavy Storm. That's a 2-for-1. We like that.
Maybe Aslion's thinking of possibly setting up the Dark Hole next turn, since gotta wait for the second spell.
Yeah. Um, and it looks like we're gonna set Apprentice Magician here.
Dark Hole a bit better. Will he pull the trigger here?
We are definitely thinking about it. I mean, if you were staring at Ultimate Obedient Fiend for 7 turns on end, you would think about killing yourself and your opponent as well.
So
So we will go ahead and Dark Hole 2 monsters on both sides of the board, plus a Witch of the Black Forest, which lets Aslion recoup a bit.
big dark hole here. So is that equal on cards? I think Aslion goes down one card here from spending the dark hole. Two monsters die, one gets replaced.
Yeah, yeah. So technically a
So,
-1 for Aslion, but
I mean,
as Ultimate Obedient Fiend is simply worth it.
he's worth 10 cards. Did you know that?
God. So also, if you are lower than your opponent on card advantage, surely that means Ultimate Obedient Fiend won't get to attack.
Good point.
Cosmo Queen hits J positive for a decent amount.
Yeah, Aslion opting for the Cosmo Queen over the Parshath here, maybe hoping to save the Parshath specifically to pierce over a tiny guy. And also, J Positive has a bunch of cards in hand. There's probably a Bungus in there, right?
Yeah. J positive unfortunately does not have a Bungus. They're looking at 2 copies
Mm.
of Bizar Shock, and that's all they got. So they're gonna try to fucking pre-mat Ultimate Obedient.
Yeah, baby!
They are going to attempt it, and Aslion is like, no,
No!
we
Not
are
my,
literally done with this.
my son!
We bottomless the Ultimate Obedient Fiend, which
Okay,
essentially means that it's out of the game entirely. This is a 1-up in the format, so we will not
that's
be seeing
pretty
this.
rough for J Positive because he's wide open, and does he have anything to deal with this?
Yeah, we don't have anything except just set Bizar Shock at this stage,
Okay, so
uh,
not
which
bad.
which would cause J positive to somewhat eat shit to Air Knight Parshath.
Oh,
Oh
but
wait,
that.
no, the Bizar Shock. Oh
Oh,
no, that's it. That's it.
that's it. That's it.
Oh god, yeah, Bizar Shock is a really good card, y'all.
So that dark hole, very, very smart play from Aslion, sets up this lethal line eventually, and that's it.
That's it.
Bogus
Aslion
propel.
making a big swing with these massive guys. In that instance, I guess J positive would have been justified in normal summoning Bizar Shock and face up defense.
Guess so, yeah.
Oh, it's very,
Oh,
very silly stuff. Well, with that, Leah, we do have our finalists for this round of SJC, but first, we simply must go and witness the bronze match. The Critters players are gonna battle it out here and determine who can Critters the most.
yeah, and because nothing ever happens, Bungus proves that it is definitely where you want to be. But I think this matchup will be really interesting because the tinier guys means that the play might be a bit slower here. Um,
I mean, there are
so
a ton of Bunguses in these opening hands.
yeah,
Tyrant
it's
Dragon,
almost
Moisture Creature, Blue Eyes.
on Critters because like you got to be playing some
You
Bunguses,
got
right?
you simply can't play no bunguses in this format. We'll start off with Moisture Creature, and of course it's gonna trade with Maneater Bug. As
Trading
is
with Man Bug isn't really where you want to be, but
I
oh,
mean it kind of is now. But of course Sparky does have a little one final trick up their sleeve with a bottomless trap hole, so both players essentially go neutral on cards here.
okay. So quick opening salvo turns into nothing, but at least it was a big nothing.
That's true. And then we go into Tyrant Dragon.
And bottomless again.
And yeah. At this point, J
Does
positive is
target.
thinking because he needs to determine if bottomless trap hole targets, and good news, it doesn't. For some reason, trap hole targets, but this one does not. So this one is usable against Tyrant Dragon.
Jess, have you ever been like a bottomless hole inspector and you go to look at bottomless trap hole and it has a bottom?
I'm just gonna really let that
You
silence marinate there.
you, you don't.
I
No, Jess, come
I
on. Oh, Jess, come on.
So we got a bottomless trap hole on the Tyrant Dragon, and
Jess,
that's
you
the
don't
only
get it.
thing that has happened
It's
over
a,
the course of
it's
this
a
turn.
funny reference to a funny haha post. No, come
Why?
on.
I don't know that post. This
I'm
reference
not
went over my
I'm
head.
not cringe. I'm not cringe. Oh, here's Blue Eyes.
And it
And
also dies.
nothing ever
This is
happened.
what happens with Bungus a lot of the time is that like they just trade for your most powerful back row, which leaves both players stuck on their little guys.
Yeah, now, so both of these smaller decks are reduced down to poking with Sangan. And that Visor Shock not doing too much right
That
now.
old vindictive magician feels so bad against
So
Sangan, but
ass.
you know we don't really have another
You
choice.
know, maybe hope Sparky summons a Bungus, but no.
No, yeah, old vindictive magician kills Sangan. Sparky's like, thank you very much.
So what are we getting here, you think?
Um,
Maybe another Rangan?
yeah, I guess
Science?
magical scientists. We don't really like we. The problem with Sangan is that we can't get a Bungus. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So scientist is
Ah!
interesting. Oh, yeah!
All right. That'll
Oh,
be
Visor
a
Shock.
big Visor shock here.
Really?
Um,
Doing 800.
I mean, big as in bounces a lot of cards. Visor shock is not itself very big,
It
but
bounces a lot of cards, but to what end?
to the end of 800 life points exactly. We go to main phase 2, and we'll throw down the Solemn Judgment.
Okay.
Yeah, see
Well,
if we had had the foresight to throw down a scapegoat, that would have been a nice counter to the MST. But
yeah, but
say
you gotta be
Lovey,
thinking. J Positive's got to be thinking. I have a face-up attack position, Visor Shock. I really just want to be a whatever big guy is
I
going
would
to.
like to not eat shit and die immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So both
and
of you have scientist.
yeah, so we go into Magical Scientist. This is a little bit rough because Sanyan is still going to. Oh, right! We can just
Dark
Dark
Ball versus
Bolter the
Fireball.
Terrible It. Never
Very
mind.
strong. Very good response to Sanyan. See, this is why scientist is so cool. Like, I
Yeah,
love.
it's just a little utility guy.
He's so neat, dude.
All right.
Okay.
Um,
Scapegoat looking nice here into the heavy storm.
yeah, are we gonna heavy storm on Sparky's side, or are we gonna wait for something a little bit juicier in terms of card advantage?
You know, if you're Sparky, you got to be thinking that J Positive is getting to a pretty simplified state. Maybe the Spirit Reaper could rip a card,
Yeah,
but
and like
Scapegoat.
even with the scapegoat activation, it might be better to just like force it now rather than
Okay.
maybe in a situation where
So, what do you think about Scientist 5 times to eat 5 tokens?
I think that's impossible for several reasons. Thing number one is that we're gonna Thousand Eyes Restrict and nothing except Thousand Eyes Restrict can attack. Thing number two is that our format has a 3 special summon limit.
Hmm. But
So,
like, what if J Positive forgets? Um.
well,
So
looks like he's not going to.
Scientist in face-up defense is interesting because theoretically we could eat a token, but Sparky chooses to play it safe and rewarded for
Yeah, truly rewarded for not putting that scientist in face-up attack mode. All right.
creature
Um,
swap really ass here.
yeah, creature swap is not what you want to see looking at several scapegoat tokens.
Yeah, some rough draws for Sparky.
Eh,
Tyrant Dragon trades with the Vindictive, so at least we're equalized again.
and down comes the ultimate obedient fiend.
Jess, listen. J Positive has no cards in hand. Almost no cards on field once the tokens are dead.
That's
Could it
true.
happen?
It,
Could it happen,
if
Jess?
ultimate obedient fiend declares an attack on our Lord and Savior 2025, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. So we've got a Witch of the Black Forest, which is a little bit of like insurance against a Mirror Force situation. It looks like Sparky's not gonna go any deeper into it yet.
Hmm. Okay. Things are a little bit
Um,
tense here.
this is a pretty good Magician of Faith. We can get back a deal with the Dark Ruler, which is insurance for if Ultimate Obedient Fiend goes down.
This would be a big Visor shock for Sparky, but nothing yet here. Actually, has Sparky already been through both of the Visor shocks?
That's actually a good question. No.
Oh,
Looks like we
Sparky
have
has
been
been
through
through
none
none
of
of the
them.
Visor shocks.
It
Folks,
happens that way
there
sometimes.
he is. There he is.
Yeah, see, Despair from the Dark thought that he was the Ultimate Defender. He hasn't seen the Ultimate Defender yet.
Hilariously,
Um,
Despair from the Dark also just like a weird red blob,
that's
just like
true.
his dad.
I think Despair from the Dark is more expressive than Ultimate Obedient Fiend. I think
Okay, so
even though you can't see despair from the dark's irises, it's somehow more expressive.
I like his art. He's creepy looking.
That's true.
Okay,
Buster
Buster
Blader is
Blader.
pretty big here. Two dragons in J Positive's graveyard. That is
Now,
enough to defeat Ultimate Obedient Fiend.
J
So
Positive has a Mirror Force set though, right?
yeah, we have a
So
trap hole and a mirror force, and it looks like we're gonna let the trap hole
how do we play
go.
into this? Okay, one monster to defense, even Witch to defense. Playing very conservatively here. But you know J Positive's got to protect the red boy, right?
I mean,
You've
like,
got to.
what do we have without Ultimate Obedient Fiend? Truly.
That's true. Yeah, I mean the Mirror Force is optimal because what the fuck else do we do?
Yeah, and you also want to wait for the Magician of Faith to resolve, in order to get that deal with the Dark Ruler out.
That's a big pre-map, but hilariously, the best target, Tyrant Dragon, requires you to tribute a dragon to pre-mat it.
Just a bizarre. Tyrant Dragon really does sometimes read like it was intended for this
For
format,
Junior Journey,
exactly.
right? Doesn't it feel that way? So the blue eyes here.
Oh, we're
Oh,
going for
scientist.
Magical
Oh,
Scientist.
oh, that's so good. Um, because we can get Dark Balter for the witch, get $1,000 for the Despair from the Dark, but I guess we'd have to do that in main two, right?
Yeah. So
Oh,
it looks like J Positive is gonna mess up their sequencing a little bit
oh,
here. Yeah,
oh, this is
Thousand
rough.
Eyes Restrict is gonna take that Despair from the Dark, I imagine.
And this was so close here to being like a great swing. I mean, it still is good because answering Despair from the Dark is fine, but that scientist is wide open for the witch now.
Yeah.
And you
Um,
really, really want to get rid of the witch because Sparky is so low on cards.
and it looks like we're just gonna go even deeper at this point. In for a penny, in for a pound. Thousand Eyes Restrict is going to slurp up Spirit Reaper.
I didn't know it could grab face downs. Okay.
Yeah. Thousand Eyes Restrict is pretty good.
Okay.
The attack position magical scientist has to feel a little bit weird, but Sparky
That's a bit aggressive.
isn't gonna get much of an answer at this
Yeah.
stage.
Could have been in full control, clearing the whole board, but this is still not bad. Ring of Destruction can't kill J Positive here because of the weird, horrible errata for it.
Once again, Ring of Destruction errata made specifically for this format and
For
no
Junior
other.
Journey, it's just they knew. The
Yeah.
designers, they knew.
We'll set the Ring of Destruction very close to being able to. No, I don't think we can target our own. Yeah, we
No,
cannot target our own monsters with the
no.
errata.
But,
Hilarious.
but Jess, if we can get J Positive to lose exactly 100 life points, we can creature
We
swap him
can
all
creature swap the witch to our
and
opponent's side of the
kill
field,
J
which
Positive
makes
because
it targetable
that,
by Ring of Destruction.
that's allowed.
Yeah, all we need to do is get exactly 100
What if we
damage.
swap it and then swap it back?
That would require two spell activations. Sparky gets into the
Ooh.
Apprentice Magician.
Second scientist?
I
Thoughts?
think our life points are too low for that. I would want like an old Vindictive. But it looks like we don't have anything
But
other
J
than
Positive is
Scientist.
extremely brave.
Yeah, or we're out of targets, one or the other. Yeah, because
Hmm.
the Magician of Faith is out on the board. I don't know how many copies off the top of my head J Positive is
If
playing.
I recall correctly, Sparky is also playing all of the tiny magicians, but not Apprentice Magician, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Apprentice Magician eats a little bit of shit to like removal. You have to destroy it by battle in order to get its effect off.
Double Ring of Destruction here probably will do nothing.
you have
Do
you
you prefer the old art, or do you prefer the American art or the Japanese art, Jess?
um I don't know which one is American and which one is
The
Japanese.
Ring of Fire is American.
Oh yeah, because these are like grenades, aren't they?
I mean, outside of Japan, I don't know if it was also the
Yeah.
fire in other countries. I
I
think
think
the fire grenades look like shit.
I actually do think that the fire is a little bit more card gamey. The grenades kind of scare me. This is a little bit of a like a war crime in the Middle East card art.
So
Um
Witch kills Apprentice Magician again, so we're just kind of grinding through cards in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, is it just magical yeah, it's just magical scientist again. J positive is just out of targets.
Man-eater bug is big because we could finally kill the big red idiot who has been on the board for like what 10 turns.
Ultimate Obedient Fiend has been like the mascot of this game.
So funny.
Alright, so we've got Despair from the
Okay.
Dark.
Will we mirror force that or just like I feel like it's worth mirror forcing. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've got Mirror Force for the Despair, Maneater Bug for the Ultimate Obedient Fiend.
And Sparky's in the lead. Oh, and that pre-mat could be big. Especially
It's so funny that like if Sparky just activated creature swap, it would go pretty well for him, like whichever of the three monsters. Oh,
Oh,
but
and
we're
you
gonna save it.
so
Okay.
give J positive the bug.
Oh, and we're thinking about Ring of Destructioning.
What
We're gonna go for it!
are you
What is the
ringing?
thought
Okay.
behind this?
So I guess it's that the witch is better to have than the bug because it's bigger, right?
In
I
lieu
mean,
of
like,
an actual bungus, we'll take
what else are you
1100.
going? What else are you going to get out of the Ring of Destruction at this point? There's so few opportunities for J positive to activate it,
Yeah, that does
and
make
now,
sense, but J positive is looking low on cards at this point, as well as life points.
and even though he knows that's MOF face down, he really is trying to preserve life points here.
Yeah, so Sparky doesn't really
Swap them back. Swap them back. Oh, actually, also, yeah,
oh, that's
face down.
true. We can't just do
Yeah.
that. Okay. That is not
That's
lethal.
pretty rough. Okay. Now, if Sparky had the summon here, it would be lethal, but as is,
Yeah. As is, Sparky is up 3 cards and a decent amount of life points. He's gonna try to fake a trap card here.
oh,
Scapegoat might help J positive stay alive.
that's a good scapegoat. Hilariously, if we had a second Ultimate Obedient Fiend, maybe it's happening. Okay. Sparky getting the witch is rough for J positive.
Yeah, there probably wasn't a way to stop that from happening, though, with us not being able to magical scientist
This
anymore.
is exact lethal, Jess. And we
And
choose to take the 300
we
first.
take the 300 to preserve one of our tokens. Now,
That,
hilariously, if we had Ring of Destruction, we could use it on our opponent's Old Vindictive Magician
no,
at this
dude.
stage.
Okay, despair is big,
Yeah,
but
but
so is
Mirror
Mirror
Force is
Force.
bigger.
Oh
Oh,
man.
down goes
So
J
what
Positive's
number
Bungus.
Mirror Force activation is this? We've been through so many Mirror Forces on both sides. It feels like.
Oh,
Oh, and
and that is
that's it.
gonna be it.
That is it.
That was game one. Holy
That
fuck.
was game one. That was game
We
one,
spent
dude.
like 10,000 years staring at Ultimate Obedient Fate.
Oh man, I just got hypnotized by the Chessie. I just the
All right.
Ultimate Obedient Fiend Chessie got me acting unwise.
All right. We have. I'm never going to think about that sentence again. We have a couple of bunguses, a Berserk Dragon, and a Metamorphosis that doesn't seem to accomplish a
And
whole
a
lot yet.
nobleman. Are we
Nobleman is pretty
firing?
good.
Hitting the witch is good. It's actually really good, especially because if we hit like a different flip monster, we might lose as J positive access to his own copies.
Yeah.
Moisture is no enemy for a mirror, and Spirit Reaper for the card advantage is pretty good here.
J positive shuffling the hand, just being like, please hit the Berserk Dragon, and he's gonna get his wish. J positive
Rewarded.
retaining all of his useful cards at this stage, but not drawing anything to do with this metamorphosis, and in
It's
fact
rough.
drawing a second copy.
Maybe
This is where metamorphosis becomes like not the best card in the format.
really love meta in this format. I guess you can meta a scapegoat, but like otherwise, maybe we just have to normal summon MOF and meta it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think like One of the better Metamorphosis plays is like Bizar Shock, because that can turn into a. There are some pretty good level 5 fusions it can turn into, but those guys still aren't Bunguses, so.
Okay, so
Cold
this
Vindictive
ultimate,
Magician kills Despair
this
from the Dark.
ultimate vindictive fiend. That's what I was about to call that card.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't.
hooked, Jess. I can't. I see him everywhere I go.
Alright, good Pot of Greed from Sparky. You probably want to go a little deeper into the deck at this stage. Still not finding any big guys, though, so we're still kind of playing defensively.
I got to
Alright.
be honest. I've been doing so. We're both doing so much color commentary here that I'm just like, my brain is slowly melting.
My brain is slowly turning into Ultimate Obedient Fiend. Now, this would
Okay.
be a good metamorphosis, and Sparky is gonna think long and hard about it. Because the thing about Thousand Eyes Restrict usually is that if you summon it off of Scientist, it doesn't stay on the board. But if it stays on the board, then its Floodgate effect
Yeah.
becomes a huge problem. So Sparky is gonna pay the life points.
Would also answer the Reaper here now. That is not without a cost because now Sparky is potentially within one hit of dying.
Yeah,
Old Addictive trades with Despair from the Dark for the 37th time. But now, does J Positive have anything? We've got. Both players just got a lot of spells, but that Pog is pretty good.
that's that's decent. The TT gives you a little bit more insurance.
Hmm.
And it looks like we're gonna hit in with some little guys, taking out the
Oh,
extra metamorphosis. Oh, and that is a rough
draw.
draw. Yeah. We move back to Sparky, who is at this stage gonna go ahead and bring out a second Sangan to hit in with 2K.
It's just a strategy of poke. I'm just gonna give you
Just poking.
just poking like 6 times in a row, and I
Still
guess J
not.
Positive has to let it happen.
Still need to find a monster. J Positive having more trouble finding a monster than Helio Strider, who played I think 14 monsters.
Oh yeah, and this torrential, like if he has a monster, he might just have to normal summon it and fire the torrential here.
Yeah, there's the magical
Hey,
scientist.
scientist is something. Maybe we nobleman first potentially.
Yeah, if we read that face, yeah, we'll go ahead and nobleman in case that's like a face down
J
searcher or
Positive's already
something.
been through his moth, so it's pretty good.
Yeah. And then J Positive is thinking here.
It sucks because like if you normal summon, well, actually, it's not that bad because we can normal summon the scientist, torrential, and then we have the bottomless as backup for a bungus. And if it's not a bungus, then we have enough life points to live. So
Yeah, yeah.
that might,
You would like as J Positive, you would definitely prefer to have drawn a Bungus, because then you could torrential
yeah,
tribute it and then go immediately into a deal with the Dark Ruler.
yeah. There's a lot of potential there, but maybe J Positive is thinking about if he wants to use the scientist to try to summon some dark balters to clear the Sangan, and it looks like that's what he's going for.
Okay.
Now, will this cause Sparky to use their TT? Just
Nope.
one
We
Balter.
are. I mean, it would be very difficult to justify paying another 1,000 life points in J Positive situation. Yeah, we'll just go for the one Dark Bolter at this.
The problem with just one Dark Balter is that now we're in the same situation, right? Where we have to top deck a normal to be able to torrential to stay alive.
It's a rough
Maybe
situation all
Sparky is
around.
hoping that he gets a good window for this torrential off of, or maybe J Positive is hoping he gets a good window for the torrential off of Sparky pushing for damage.
Hmm.
But that's not in the cards.
Yeah, so we're gonna go Sangan and
Okay.
try to,
Oh.
and we have to torrential
Oh.
tribute the double Sangan. It's not as bad as it could be because Sangan's are rotted, but we'll just
Uh,
get the third one. Who cares?
okay, I mean that's not the worst, but it certainly ain't great.
Yeah, we throw down the Sangan and let's see if we can draw like a single monster. All right. And yeah, J Positive does find a despair from the dark and is gonna summon it in attack mode. Oh god.
At the bottomless. Oh,
Oh, we do have
oh,
deal with the Dark Ruler.
this I remember. So, what the players are about to do is get into an argument about whether bottomless destroys and then
Right,
dances
right,
and the guy hits the
right.
graveyard first. But I think the ruling is that the monster never hits the graveyard, so you can't fire deal, right?
Yeah, Bottomless Trap Hole's text is not the most intuitive, but it does banish the card rather than sending it to the graveyard. So unfortunately, we do not have a deal with Dark Ruler play here.
And suddenly J Positive looking very open. The blue eyes is checked by the bottomless.
And checked
Okay.
it will be. Maybe a
But J
little bit quick on the draw with putting Sangan to defense mode, but his life points are low as well,
J
so...
Positive running out of time, and oh, the Berserk Dragon. That's not good enough for Monster
Oh...
Reborn, which is going to close it.
Yeah, that is going to be
Wow.
Sparky with the win. Yeah, I would say an unfortunate series of draws for J Positive, and maybe that's just like a mark of trying to play a deck that does a bunch of different things. Still a lot of interesting plays all around, and congratulations to Sparky on the bronze medal.
Sparky was on the 3 Sangan, and J Positive wasn't, and those Sangans put in work that game.
Those Sangans were absolutely the main character of the bronze
Yeah.
match. Well, I hope you enjoyed those critters, because that's the last of that we're gonna see today. It's all fucking bungus all the way down, folks.
I was the big man hit hard.
We are going to see some of the biggest men that you have ever seen hitting each other in
Yeah?
ways that you didn't think were previously possible. Yeah, Aslion has this is interesting. Aslion was playing Dark Ruler Hades in main to kind of hole up a little bit against non-bungus decks. Won't necessarily serve them the best in this matchup.
Well, Hades, like, it's still good against Maneater Bug, which even, like, Bungus
I
decks.
mean, everybody plays Maneater Bug. That's true.
Yeah.
We start off with Buster Blader, which it's Helio Strider's one normal summon. You do what you gotta do.
The
Um,
Naked Blader is pretty bad, though, but what else are you going to do? We've drawn Berserk Dragon.
I like the idea that Buster Blader is nude without a dragon to fight.
He rolls out of bed going like, I guess I gotta get there.
I guess I gotta slay a zombie today. Not really my comfort zone, but it's a living. We go Pot of Greed on Helio Strider's side, getting some more normal summons, which you definitely like to see in this hand, which looked a little light on them previously.
Yeah, this hand's looking much better now. Now, Aslion here has some guys. There's a fissure. Um, I expect this match to go fast and hard because like Bungus decks can deal so much damage so quickly, and like these two players are just going to be throwing stuff at each other until one of them bleeds to death.
Yeah, Bungus mirrors are very much about jostling for control with your various big guys and removal spells, and then it all happens at once.
And
Uh,
the fissure there is interesting because theoretically you could wait to fissure next turn, but maybe
uh,
there's a smaller guy that gets normal summon to check that.
I like
Um,
fissuring this turn because it opens up Asline's spell activation for next
oh,
turn,
oh
and
yeah, it's totally worth doing this turn. You're right.
yeah.
Um, okay.
Cosmo Queen taking down Moisture Creature, back to Aslion. Yeah. I would
I
like
just
to see more trap cards. If I were Aslion, I would say not having sets is going to be a problem here.
do you ever just stare into Cosmo Queen's eyes and just get lost?
They're a little
Yeah.
bit hard to see, I will say. By eyes, do you mean the fucked up orbs on her fucking hat?
I may be talking about looking longingly at her orbs. Yes.
Okay. Does she have 6 fingers? Is that also a thing?
Oh.
I never noticed that before, but I do believe Cosmo Queen has AI generated hands. Cosmo Queen bounces off of despair from the Dark's big ass. I wish that was me. But alas, alack. Maneater Bug goes down.
Okay, and a pretty quiet opening to the game so far, but both of the players are dealing damage in like increments of 100. That's a big Hades.
Yeah, we'll see if Helio Strider lets that go, and he says, no, I want to keep my Maneater Bug, which makes a certain amount of sense. This next turn will be a pretty big push.
I mean,
Um,
I would kill and die for Maneater Bug. It makes sense.
I respect anybody who eats men. We need more of that in modern
We
society,
need
I
more
think.
men eating.
Aslion is thinking about what to do. Again, not having a trap card is rough, so he is just gonna go for the Dark Hole, which is actually a pretty heads-up move, considering Heliostrider does not have a draw this turn.
Yeah, Aslion is taking tempo really seriously here because even just having the chance to do Dark Hole as a neutral card advantage, 2 for 2, um, is seems kind of like preserving life points in that it could prevent Heliostrider from making a big swing.
Yeah. So we'll go definitely MST,
Uh,
that torrential tribute to make sure this Tyrant Dragon goes through.
and there, someone has actually dealt damage.
We have the first
Okay.
really big hit of the game. However, this pre-mat is going to go a little bit hard here because Chekhov's Buster Blader is going to come
Oh,
out and fucking conquer this Tyrant
he put
Dragon.
on his shirt. He put on pants.
Oh, Buster Blader is like, this is what I was created for!
Did someone say dragon?
Finally!
Okay.
Imagine being Buster Blader. Imagine specializing so specifically in killing dragons and nothing else. Imagine
That's
going to dragon killing
dragons to kill.
college. So we've got a
I
yeah, we've got a pre-mat, but nothing that we can summon defeats Buster Blader right now.
it's actually kind of hard to get a job with a degree in dragon killing. So, I don't blame him for, scrolling on social media.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Now, pre-mat, again, you want the Tyrant Dragon. I mean, actually, I guess you don't.
No, no, the Tyrant Dragon doesn't really do anything here.
Yeah.
So we'll go Despair
Even
from the
just the
Dark.
despair, really.
Um, yeah, if we had like known Heliostrider's set cards, we could have gotten Dark Ruler Hades, but unfortunately, that is not how
Maybe.
the game works.
Windstorm of Ataqua will immediately die. Fuck. No,
Using
no,
Raigeki
come
Break
on.
to discard the useless Berserk Dragon. Get in with
Okay.
a decent amount here.
Extremely simplified board state. And
Oh,
we
that's a
don't
rough
find a guy
draw.
for creature swap. That's looking rough for Aslion.
Yeah, Giant Trunade is also like the worst spell trap removal. If it were like MST, we could at least clear Heliostrider's monster, but no.
I mean, maybe you Trunade to make Healer's Strider pay 800 life points? I don't know.
No, then you fucking die. You
Better.
immediately die in that situation.
But fortunately here, Aslion is not yet dead. That MOF is pretty brutal, though.
Yeah. Aslion gets an MOF of their own. Something tells me that they might have a little bit of trouble resolving it in a way that lets them use it. Aslion is fucking thinking at this point.
So what are we thinking? Are we thinking?
Oh, right! This
Hmm.
was really interesting. This was like, yeah, Aslion is like, I can't really leave this to chance and just set the Magician of Faith, so I am going to throw it down in attack mode and creature swap on the assumption that that set card is something that I would want. Heliostrider counters by saying, okay, you can have my Buster Blader and it's going to go back down to 2600 because I have not played a dragon yet. A really interesting little sequence here.
from both players. Yeah,
Yeah.
Helio Strider going, you can have my Buster Blader. He's unemployed anyway.
We'll get a big hit on Helio Strider here, so I still think that's the right call from Aslion's side. But with a Magician of
Still,
Faith in
the
tow.
Moth. What is the Moth getting?
Oh wait, it
Uh,
just gets offerings to the Doomed and we win.
okay, pretty strong. Hey, did Helio Strider ever skip a draw phase from the first offerings? I can't
Yes.
remember.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we
okay,
did.
good, good. All right. And that is it. Helio Strider takes the first game. No cards left in hand. Two guys on field.
Both
Not
players
a
down to like
strikeout
their
ball.
down to their last couple of life points. Now I will say I have forgotten most of what happened. I do remember what happens in this game, and it's
I
very
do.
unfortunate.
And yeah, let's just say there might be consequences to playing bricks in your deck.
So, unfortunately, Aslion has opened two copies of Berserk Dragon,
Oh,
which is
you hate to
truly
see
the
it.
worst hand that he is capable of producing. And it's even worse because he wasn't even maining it. He had the Berserk Dragon package inside, and they brought it in for game 2, and he opened out of a 40 card deck the two bricks.
Now, it partially counteracted here by the fact that Helio Strider has also opened the brick, but that Raigeki break gives him something to do with his copies, whereas Aslion is just sitting on two doofuses.
Aslion doesn't have a normal summon except for Bizer Shock.
Yeah, and
Um,
Helio Strider isn't really either, so we're racing to a Bungus, and there's one.
yeah, so we have the Cosmo Queen, and we're just immediately gonna Raigeki break that, which
Heads
is
up.
absolutely the correct call. Cosmo Queen hits Asline for a ton of damage. We were gonna set the Mirror Force, and we just don't have a monster. Aslion in this game is just not finding the cards that you want for this particular matchup. This is like a legendarily rough hand right now. The
You
Solemn
hate to see
Judgment
it go this way.
the Solemn Judgment is not proactive. The Book of Moon doesn't really do anything. The Giant Shrunade also doesn't do anything. Bizer Shock is okay. It can bounce two cards, set Helio Strider back a little bit on tempo, but it's really not going to be enough, I don't think. Book of we'll just
Book of Moon on
Oh,
the Cosmo
right. Yeah, yeah,
Queen
yeah.
allows the Visor Shot.
that was the cute move that Aslion did. Book of
Yeah,
Moon, the
this is a
Cosmo Queen.
this is a really smart play, and God, I love Visor Shock. It's such a cool card.
Yeah,
There's so many neat Visor Shock plays,
a
and
neat little interaction here that sets Helio Strider
yeah,
back a bit in terms of monsters.
and I think Asline was the only one of the top four maining Book. And Book coming through here, maybe slowing down the game a little bit, but he really needs to find something. And there's Moisture Creature, but also there's Mirror
There's
Force.
at this stage Helio Strider has like had many turns to set up Maneater Bug, Mirror Force. It just like and we're gonna
Yeah,
go
we
ahead
preserved
and
the bug.
preserve the bug for use in a future turn. As Lion is thinking long and hard about that judgment.
The judgment is not looking bad here. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, what else does Aslion do?
I
This is
mean,
really the only card that does
it
anything.
does look bad though, because then if you get past the Mirror Force, you just run into the bug.
Maybe Aslion's thinking, I gotta play to my outs. I gotta hope that hitting this face down card is worth it.
No,
But
we're gonna let the Moisture Creature die.
it's probably Maneater Bug and says, I'll take it.
Yeah. So we lose our only big guy that we have seen, and Helio Strider getting a
Here he
second
is.
one. Um,
Your unemployed friend at 2 p.m. There's Buster Blader.
we go Man-Eater Bug over the Bizer Shock. Sure, why not? Buster Blader comes out. It's not our biggest guy, but we're still concerned about Aslion
Once again,
seriously
naked.
considering
Oh, come
Solemn
on. You take
Judgmenting.
more damage from Solemn Judgmenting.
The,
Actually, do you take exactly. You take
no.
100 less from
Yeah,
getting hit by Buster Blader?
but then you take a
Or you
little
take.
bit more with Man-Eater Bug. Yeah, this is just very unfortunate. I guess we will set the one normal summon we have.
Hmm, this ain't looking good. Heavy.
The
Cosmo
the
Queen
old
would be
Vindictive will keep us alive, but yeah, we bring out
okay.
the Cosmo Queen. Cosmo Queen attacks old Vindictive, which is has to kill Buster Blader to keep Aslion in the game.
Things looking rough for Aslion though. His hand doesn't do anything, and
Ah!
that card
Oh,
also
that will
sucks.
do it.
Oh man, a rough way
Oh!
to lose. But Helio Strider brought a deck that's really consistent, really
Yeah,
powerful,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and takes it home with the Empress of the Stars.
I mean, yeah, that is the risk that you run with specifically Berserk Dragon. It's a really exceptionally cool card in this format. We saw some really strong plays with it. J positive essentially managing to OTK from nothing out of it. But then you
Yeah.
get these games where it just completely bricks up your hand. Um,
Voiced by his avatar. Asline here
I
explaining the
sided them in. Hey, and Helio Strider being a dick, being like, "Well, it's nice to see your side dick." Oh,
well, just
congratulations, Helio
yeah,
Strider, on being the victor of SJC 2003. Well played all around. Aslion, I do think Aslion played that game as well as they possibly could with the tools they had on
yeah,
hand.
yeah. There were some smart plays, but it was ultimately too little. And I gotta say, Jess, this format, Bungus versus Bungus, when they're allowed to play, the games are explosive. They're interesting, but you hate to see the finals end that way.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, sometimes that is Yu-Gi-Oh! But that's okay because you take the good with the bad, and we saw a lot of good over the course of this tournament. We saw a lot of cool plays, a lot of big guys, a lot of little guys, a lot of dragons, a lot of tiny magicians, and one dead-eyed red chest vagina guy. And I think that's what it's all about.
I want to say congrats to all players. Awesome games. Really enjoyed doing this and being the co-host for O3, Jess. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks so much for being
Um,
on and honestly helping me craft a really cool format. I was surprised by how well we got it the first time.
good fucking luck to whichever chump you have on here next,
Yeah,
because it's
good.
gonna be hard to beat this format.
I mean, yeah. Next time we're doing 2004, and that doesn't have any issues.
Yeah, I mean 2004. Are there even
Yeah,
cards in
yeah, easy.
2004?
No,
No.
no, no issues to be spoken of.
Well, stay bungusing.
This has been Junior Trials. Did you know you can access a secret extra episode of this series by supporting me for any amount on patreon.com/JessieJPlays? By making a monthly contribution and supporting my videos, you can watch me participate in a tournament very much like this one, testing my own skill against Discord members as they fight to win the earliest days of a new format. You can also help us by clicking that like button, hitting subscribe, and sticking around for the future of this series. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.